or you have the ability to do exactly that what you are trying to emulate or simulate in the situation. The best example here is counter spells, interactions, but also things like Wandering Emperor. It can be a game-changing approach if you play something, or maybe you attack with something and expect your opponent to react to something that you are bluffing and to not block, and you bring 1 or 2 damage in, that exactly wins you the game at the end. But also there are some small tricks in the arena, for example, to put the hold phases action on your opponent's main phases, and when he casts something, it will hold the game for you or give you the priority to interact with something even if you don't have anything in your hand, but the opponent will maybe think that you have some interaction, some counter spells, Wandering Emperor, and so on. Especially in the lower tiers, this is a really game-changing mechanic that you can utilize in arena for yourself, and a lot of people will try to play around it. I had multiple games where I didn't have my Wandering Emperor, playing with my mono white deck, and the opponent was not attacking me because they were scared that I will flash in my Wandering Emperor and exile the Shoulder or other big threats that could easily go in for a lot of damage. This is why always take your time, think about what is your opponent thinking, and try to manipulate the game that opponent thinks that you have something that you maybe don't even run in your deck. Similar to putting the hold on opponent's phases, you can also utilize the full control. You activate full control on the PC by clicking the control button or pushing the control button. And I believe on mobile, I'm not sure about it, correct me if I'm wrong, by double tapping your player icon, you're activating the full control, and this way, every time a cast been cast, even if you have nothing to interact with or to play with, it will produce a priority hold, so you can interact with something by not even having something to interact. This will make for your opponent really difficult to understand what is currently in your hand and how to play around it. This is also why a lot of players you see maybe in the World Cups or other scenarios in other big tournaments, but also me myself, if you draw at the end just lands or you have just lands, maybe don't make your land draw, because this will indicate that you can maybe have some counter spells or some interaction for your opponent that will influence your opponent's decisions on how they approach and how they are playing against you, and this can be a game-winning knowledge that you gain there. And the next things that help me to improve is definitely knowing the current meta. This is why I enjoy Standard, because Standard is not such a wide amount of cards that are used in this set, and also I find Standard being more simple but also at the same time very complex and very versatile makes it so interesting for me. But knowing the top 5 current played decks is very important to understand how to beat them, and there is always this saying in Magic, if you cannot beat them, join them, and I cannot stress it more than enough. If people are annoyed from control players, from mono blue, from counterspell players, or mono red or other decks that just run over you, then join them. Try to build the deck as good as possible, play it and see which decks beating you. This is the main focus. You should try to not enjoying to play this deck, but to understand how did my opponent beat me, why didn't I have a chance, and why did I had a chance. And as soon as you start understanding it, it will be an easy game for you to understand how to approach certain situations. You will have it in mind, my opponent beat me last time when I played mono blue this way, so if you face a mono blue opponent, you will know exactly how to approach these games to beat the mono blue player and not getting stressed out or depressed because they counter all your spells. This is why I always recommend to check out some news sources. For me, it's Twitter, but I know not a lot of people have the time for using Twitter. For example, MTG Arena Zone is also a great news source for this sort of things. They show you what are the top decks, who wins what, and what are the cards are played. But also there are some YouTubers, for example, MTG Joe, I will link his channel down in the description, has an amazing breakdown of the current played cards each week. I think multiple times he brings it for Explorer, Historic, Standard. I usually watch only the Standard because I'm interested in it, but I want to know what is played in this week the most, what has the win rate, and how to counter it, or how to play or approach against these decks. And if I face these decks on the ladder, I usually exactly know what is their turn 2, turn 3, turn 4 play, and how I need to approach these decks to have the greatest value or to win these games more effectively. I believe nowadays with YouTube and all this information, social media sources that we have, is a really powerful source that we have available that was not there, let's say 20 years ago, that you need to buy some journals to just see how is mono green performing or how does the artifact or spell slinger deck performing, to find out how to fight against these spells, what cards are really good against it. But nowadays I think by watching YouTube, watching for example my channel, watching a lot of other channels will help you to understand what is currently played, what is the meta, how to approach this meta and how to win against it. But always keep in mind, if you cannot beat them, just join them. So play the same deck as you are struggling against to understand how to beat this deck the best. And my last and final tip, and this is actually how I came to content creation or how I came to YouTube to bring out my decks, is record your gameplay. Sadly, Magic the Gathering Arena do not provide us tools to really support your learning curve. For example, like a lot of other competitive games, here's Counter-Strike, for example, a really great example that provides you a lot of tools to improve, not only with the replay function, but also you can revisit some of the games, check exactly.
Thanks now, Dino, when you hear me now, please, so I know how long the delay is.
And how to improve it in the future, because you will have the same scenarios over and over again, especially in Magic. The card pool in Standard is a really limited card pool. This is why you will be facing similar situation where you make maybe some mistakes very often. This is why.
So it's about 8 to 10 seconds. I'm gonna restart the stream and send you a new link, and I'm gonna try to minimize the delay. So I'm gonna pick up a little bit the internet higher. So maybe 2 minutes. I will send you a new link.
And seeing, okay, why did I make this decision? It happens still today if I watch my own videos and I think like, why did I make this decision on turn 3, not keeping the mana open, even though my opponent is the